Yes.
It was wonderful.
We have several of those here in the valley. I helped Mr. Melkenmeyer do the soils analysis for the one that he has.
Yeah.
There's also others that are in the South Valley. When you go over there where the buffalo are,
Yeah.
where you set up, if you look north, there's a house there with solar panels, and his household water is part of that. Yes, all solar. Okay. Is that's still working, right? Okay, good. I was hoping. So, getting back to the bacteria and so forth. So, overgrazing, you're minimizing the roots. You're minimizing the sugars. Approximately 2/3 of the sugars that photosynthesis creates sugars. 2/3 of that sugar gets pushed down into the roots. And that's what the bacteria, the nematodes, and also the hierarchy of the bugs are eating. Now, why are they so important? I mean, they're eating, but what are they doing?
They're feeding the roots when they die.
Okay. What goes in must come out. Creating balance.
Flushing out their system where they're eating, they're releasing into the ground.
Good. What they eat, what must come out. Let's go back to that. What comes out is broken down, right? The nutrients are being taken back up to the root and feeding the root. The nitrogen content in bacteria is almost twice as high in a bacteria, and so it's held in that little body. Now, when something else comes in and eats that little guy, that nitrogen gets released into the soil and goes into the roots or gets tied up in the healthy soil. Okay? That negative ion and that positive ion attract each other. And that's what you want. What eventually happens, that root starts working its way through and starts using those elements that are tied up with the clay. And that's your fertilizer. Now, let me ask a question. How many of you do soil, water, and tissue testing? One, two people.
It's kind of expensive. It's kind of expensive.
It's only about $150 to $175 for all three tests. But think of it this way. Using soil health concepts, and look at this water. Okay? It's still there. Hasn't gone down. Conventional farming. The soil, water, and tissue tests are very important. And most people, back in my dad's age, he would do a soil analysis. Okay? Send it to Dr. Flynn down in Artesia. He'd do the analysis. He'd send it back. Dr. Flynn would say, okay, you need this much nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, magnesium, boron, and so forth. Right? That's what Dr. Flynn would do. The reasoning behind taking more samples and different kind of tests is you need to know what's in the soil. Okay? Dr. Flynn's analysis is very good. You know what's in the soil. You have to know what's in the water. What's coming in the water? Calcium. What else?
Potassium.
Potassium. There's all kinds of elements coming in, right? Salts.
Metals.
Metals. Okay? So there's all
Sewage.
untreated sewage. Yeah. There's all kinds of things. So it's rich in something, right? Some of it is good for us, and some of it may not be so good, but it does have fertilizer properties. So if you know what your soil is lacking, you know what's another input is your water, then you start taking the analysis of the tissue, taking the leaves, taking that analysis, and sending it into the lab. What we found out is that the healthy soil, even though that it may have lacking nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, blah, 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 the water that you use has a little bit of salt, and yet it gets flushed down a lot easier because of the structure. It's not staying on the top. What we're finding is, and I didn't bring that, I think it's in here, the poster that shows that the plant isn't lacking any of the essential elements or fertilizers or anything to grow, right? And that's what we're finding. So, if you do that analysis and do the number crunching of all three tests, would it be worth it to find out that you don't need as much nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus? That's another concept of soil health that is really cool. Once you do the number crunching and learn how to do the number crunching, you do the soil, water, and tissue, figure out what the plant is needing, you can apply less fertilizer. I'm not the kind of person that says, oh, organic is the best. Oh, conventional is the best. I'm trying to figure out what's the best of all worlds. And after 11 years working with Rudy, we kind of figured out that soil health is the way to go. And I know there's people that like organic in here, and that's okay. And there's people that like conventional. That's okay. But I think if we can meet somewhere in the middle with soil health and implement some of those soil health concepts, that might be saving you money.
I have a question.
Yes.
Should you do it once a year or just once to have it tested?
Water testing, you can do it once in a long time, 3-4 years. Okay. The soil testing probably.
If you're a high-end production, we recommend you do it every year. If you're an organic producer, I'll cover that in a while. Once you get a baseline, every 3-4 years will be more than enough to see the changes taking place.
Okay.
So it depends.
And then the tissue.
In the tissue, again, if you're like Mr. Sanchez in some of the farmers that I work with, they'll do soil sampling and tissue sampling every year for certain crops to see whether the nutrients are coming into the leaves and what have you. If you're an organic producer and you're practicing good organic practices, and I'll cover that in a little bit, you might want to do it once or twice once you're several layers into it. And what you're going to find is when your soil's functioning at a very high level, it never has a hard time taking all the nutrients it needs in the leaf because it has the right biology to extract the nutrients. And so you wouldn't have to do it all the time, because if I did it 3 years from now and the soil's already very functioning at a very high level, and they sample it and it says all your nutrients are at optimum levels, if I didn't do it for another 3 years and I did it again and I'm still farming with good practices, it'll show the same thing. And what you'll be able to see is what Clarence has demonstrated here is a healthy soil, as you see, did not fall apart like that aggregate, the one that fell apart. That's not a healthy soil. That means it doesn't have enough biology and organic matter. So that soil will not be able to get nutrients out. And then you also saw that when you put the water in, the soil that is very, very healthy drinks in the water and holds the most water, and it still recharges the aquifer. So those are simple visual and a bunch of other stuff that you use to gauge whether your soil is performing its job. And so tissue testing and other it's just the cherry on top, and it says, it matches higher earthworms, good aggregation, good infiltration, and then it says all your nutrients are at a sufficient level. And all of those together is no different than you going to a doctor and getting diagnostics for health. So for example, you go to a doctor, you get blood work, they check your eyes, your high blood pressure, all that. And when they paint all this picture, they tell you this is what your body's up to. For the soil health, and I'll cover that in a little while, it's the same way. You're getting a diagnostic assessment and you're saying this is what my soil is doing now. And you monitor that. For the thing is, what do you do once you monitor? You have to do something about the things you don't like. Monitoring means that once you evaluated your baseline, you now do stuff differently, and you monitor it again, second, third, and fourth years, and you begin to see where you're trending up, or whether you're plateauing, or whether you're doing stuff that is causing the system to collapse.